This is the exact plan I'd execute if I woke up tomorrow and AI had taken my job. Not a motivational plan, not a you got this plan, an actual financial plan, step by step with specific numbers, okay? And we want to do this in a specific order. So I rebuilt my finances. I don't know if you've seen the video where I was literally $750,000 in debt, but I have done this once and I know what works. I know what it takes to go from deep in the hole in order to get your financial house in order. So, and if this happened to me again, I wouldn't panic. This is exactly what I do. And here's what no one is telling you about this AI job displacement conversation, because everybody's got a different opinion about this, right? So whether it is actually real, whether it's actually going to happen or not, whether you think you have a job that someday AI is going to take or whether someday they're not going to take, some people think, hey, they're never going to take my job. That's not really the question we're trying to figure out, because at some point AI is going to change the way we're all working and how we're all making our incomes. But here's the thing. The right question is this. If this happened to me next month, would my finances survive it? AI took my job and now what do I do? And for most people, even earning good money, the honest answer is no. And it's not because they're irresponsible. It's because no one ever taught them to what actually do in the first 90 days after you lose a job, right? So if you just lost your job, AI didn't take it, your company just made a crazy decision, you lost your job, what would happen in those first 90 days? And here's the thing. So I spent 25 years in finance and real estate. I have an MBA, and I've watched people with great salaries fall apart financially during a job loss because they followed the wrong sequence. And I've watched people with almost no income or not making a lot of money come out strong on the other end because they did everything in the right sequence. So the sequence on how we do all this is everything. And what this video is all about is I want to walk you through exactly what I would tell you to do in order to start on day one when all of a sudden you showed up at work and now you had no more job, okay? So you can pause this video and you can use it as an actual checklist. And that's how specific I'm going to get right now to show you what you should be doing, how this should all work, if all of a sudden you were out of work, whether it was a company made a decision and you just got let go, or if AI actually took your job. So step number one is this. The first thing I would do is not update my resume. I'm not going to go reach out to my network of family and friends and people I know. I'm not going to apply for a new job. So the first thing I'm going to do is sit down and figure out exactly how much financial runway I have. So what I'm calling this is a financial triage. And what does that mean? Most people skip this step entirely because it feels uncomfortable, and that's a huge mistake to me. Because if you don't know the real number, how much time you have, and how much longer your money's going to last, people will make panic decisions. And when you make panic decisions, they're the most expensive ones. That's why I see people do things and you're just like, why did I do this? So how does that work? What does a cash triage look like? So what we want to do is we want to take out some paper or an Excel spreadsheet. We want to make two columns, an in column and an out column. And what does that mean? We want to see how much money we have coming in right now without a job, right? So do you have money being earned in a savings account? Are you getting any sort of severance package or some sort of income that they're going to give you as a one lump sum payoff? Does your partner have an income, or is there a way for you to create any side incomes? Not projected what I could have, should have made, but real actual incomes. Like you maybe have a rental property that's creating income for yourselves, or just interest being earned on some accounts, right? So what do we have coming in? And on the other column, what do we have going out? Not what you spend, what you owe. So whether you have a monthly rent payment or a mortgage payment, whether you have insurance payments you need to make, some other loans that you have to make every month to those payments, obviously your utilities, things along those lines. Those are things that are not going to stop whether you have a job or not, right? So if you're unemployed, those bills keep coming in every month, and you need to know what you have, again, coming in versus coming out, and how much that lump sum of cash you have sitting around there. So once you do this, this number is going to tell you how much runway do we have. So if you have $30,000 of cash saved up and your fixed obligations are $5,000 a month, you've got a 6-month runway. And that's not a crisis. That just lets you know how long or what this window is that we have to work with. And most people in that situation feel like that's not a lot of time, that they don't have any time. And they feel that way because it gets scary when all of a sudden your income levels are not going that well. So if you haven't done the math and you don't understand what this time frame is for yourself, we need to do that exercise. And you should do it now anyway, whether you have income and a job now, because you just never know when this might happen to you. And the math will always show you have more time than you think you have. And so let's do the math. Here's the part that people, they get worried about. They start to resist wanting to do this. And here's the thing. Once you know your runway, like we talked about, let's say it's 6 months, you immediately go out and we're going to start to cut any other discretionary income or discretionary spending on things that we don't need, right? Not because you're broke, because what we want to do is take that runway and extend it out even longer. So every dollar you cut from your discretionary spending in the first month is another day of decision-making and another day of the ability to be able to go find a new job or a new thing. And that clarity is going to help you. So Subscriptions, anything that we don't need has got to go. Eating out for the short term has got to go. Anything that isn't a fixed obligation or genuinely, you don't need it, that's got to go, right? And we can turn it all back on once we figure these things out. But in the short term, as many things as we can turn off right now, the better, because we're just trying to buy more time so we can make smart decisions, right? So once you've done that, now we know what our number is and we're starting to extend out our runway. We're not panicking. We're creating an ability to start to make really good decisions. Now, from there, what I'm calling it is the income bridge. This is the second step of what we need to do. And here's a trap that many people fall into, because what they want to do is immediately go out and start job hunting, right? For a replacement career, something on the same level that they just came out of. So they're looking for something in the same industry, with the same salary, maybe with the same trajectory of upward mobility in their company. And that, trying to find a job that's in that same thing, can take up to 4 to 6 months or even longer sometimes. Meanwhile, while you're doing that, if you're not creating some sort of income for yourself, that runway that we talked about is starting to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And what I want to do is build up some sort of bridge. A bridge is not the long-term answer, but it's something that can help us in the short term. So a bridge is not your long-term answer. It's the income that can start sooner, faster, rather than looking for a full replacement career. And what it does, it'll keep that financial clock from running out. It creates that runway to be longer. And I want to be clear about something. A bridge that we're trying to create here is not a backup plan. It's not saying I have failed to go find a new career or a new job in something similar to what I was doing before. A bridge is just being smart financially. So like I can remember way back in the day when the real estate market totally fell apart and I wasn't making a lot of money, I was literally willing, this will show you how long ago it was, I was going to deliver newspapers in the morning and wait tables in the evening so I had my middle of my day freed up so I can continue to try to find a career or get back in real estate and make this all work for me. So I was trying to extend my runway because we did have money, but we were starting to slowly run out of it. And that's something that I think people need to look into. So what does a bridge actually look like? Okay. So given that I've been in finance for 25 years in real estate, things I can monetize right now would be for me, like maybe becoming a fractional CFO for somebody, right? Small businesses need financial expertise, but a lot of them can't afford to hire a full-time CFO. And so for me, maybe I could get a part-time job or work on the side and make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month working somewhere. And I could probably try to find a gig like that in a much shorter time frame than looking for a full-blown career, right? So that bridge is going to look different for you based upon your background. And here's the question I would want you to ask of yourself is, what do I know how to do that someone else urgently needs to learn that they can't easily replace with software tomorrow, right? So the answer to that question for you specifically is that bridge, right? I don't want to recommend you go out and wait tables or do a ride share or do a Uber driving. What I want you to do is not just go out and take any old job, but create a strategy that feels like movement in the direction that you want to go, right? So your 25 years of experience, if you're someone my age, what is that you do for you? So like, for example, my video guy photographer, he might, if all of a sudden his business went out of business, could go out and teach people about how to take better photos or how to create online presence for their businesses and maybe have a little side job while he's trying to recreate a new business for himself. So figure out what your expertise is, what you could easily go out and potentially get paid to teach somebody else and do on the side while you're really looking for that long-term career for yourself. And it just, again, extends out that runway. Now, the next one is, I'm calling it the 30-day financial reset. And while you're in this bridge and income is coming in, I would use this window to do something that you probably should have been doing all along, and something that if right now you're not laid off from AI or you haven't been let go by your company, you should do this anyway. And what you want to do is restructure your financial picture entirely. And here's what I mean by that in practice is you need to do an emergency fund audit. Do I have money there? The rule for me is 6 months or longer of fixed expenses and liquid savings that, it could be invested in something that you could easily get to, but you want to look at those things. And if that number, whatever your number is, whether it's 3 months or 12 months or anything in between, isn't there, then you need to start making these plans long before you ever had AI take your job or you lost your job because your company just laid you off. We're seeing this a lot. Because if you don't have it and you get this unexpected hit, now everything becomes a financial emergency instead of just a short-term inconvenience where you're like, oh, I've got enough money, my runway is long enough, I can figure those things out. So what we have to do is debt priority, figure out how to get those. Not all debts are created equal during a job loss. We want to get rid of those high interest debts. So that's something smart we want to do. If we have a mortgage or rent for our shelter, we want to aggressively pay off these other debts. And then if you are overpaying on your house or something like that, make sure you're making back to the normal payment and make sure that you have every single dollar available the best you can. The math on doing these things is not very complicated. High interest debt is going to compound against you way faster than the investments that you can make. So we got to get those things gone. Third, and this is one that surprises a lot of people, I think, is I would not go stop investing in my retirement accounts. What I would do is maybe reduce the amounts I'm doing, make sure I'm still trying to get the full company matches if you're someone who's investing with a company. So I wouldn't stop that investing altogether. And here's why. Because if you have 20 years until you need to retire, stopping your contributions altogether for 6 months is going to cost you a lot more money than the compounding that's going to continue over time. And it just keeps the habit. So you don't want to do it at all. Just reduce it. Even if you have to reduce it down to something like 1%, because we want that habit to keep happening. We want that compounding to keep happening. And then, like I said, you can turn the volume back up and start investing more once we start to figure it out, okay, we've got our new replacement job, we've got a new career path, we're doing whatever it is we need to do, okay? So the next one is the long-term rebuild, what I actually would do differently, okay? Now, this is where you get to actually change your trajectory, and you're not just going to survive the job loss, you're going to use it to your benefit. I said earlier, I've rebuilt my finances from, I always say near zero, but I was well into the negative. And what I learned from that experience is something I didn't understand when I had my MBA is my credentials and my career when everything was going great was awesome. But a salary or however you normally make your money is one of the most financial for, strategic structure things you can build your life on because you never know when that job is going to go away. Or for me, I've always been on a commission-based thing, so my commissions can run in waves. But what you want to do is you want to spend years not just optimizing your salary, but figuring out how you could be building income sources that don't depend on just that one thing, right? This is how you start to generate multiple income streams. So a salary is one of the most fragile financial structures you can build your life on, okay? One decision by a company in 2026 or one software deployment and bam, now AI has eliminated your job. And what you want to do is you don't want to spend years optimizing for salary. What you should have been doing is building other income streams that don't depend on just that employer's decision. So it's great. Obviously, you want to make as much money as you can where you work. But if you were trying to build, right now, here's what I'd be doing in parallel to making this income that you're doing is I'd be trying to identify and learn and know other ways to make money. Okay. So your first asset is you. It doesn't require capital. It requires packaging so that you can go out, like we briefly mentioned earlier, about teaching things to other people so that you can figure out a way to maybe make $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 extra a month. And for me, it was real estate and finance. So I try to do this on the side right now. I'm doing it more for fun, trying to learn how to be able to get a bigger audience and help more of you do this. And it's something I hope someday that I can create some income for myself. But some of the things that I have done really well is I own rental property. I owned an office building. I own a business stake in a property management business. And these are all things that throw off money to me, throw off cash to me, that don't require a lot of my time, energy, and effort. And it's a way for you to be able to do something similar, whatever your area expertise is. And it's not trying to do it for vanity purposes. It's doing it so that I'm able to make good decisions in my actual business. Because the people who navigate these disruptions in your income the best are the ones who become known for being able to just keep moving forward and leveraging your time and energy and effort the best you can, right? So think about what your credentials are, what you bring to the table, be known for whatever it is that you're being known for, and then use that to your benefit to be able to teach it to other people. So the people who look back at 2026 and say, that was one of the best things I ever did, that was one of the smartest things I ever did. So when disruption happens, you're able to create income for yourself and not just rely on some employer to create that stuff for you. So let's wrap this up. I started at the very beginning showing this, and I want to recap it for you. So the plan from day one is this. Do your cash triage and understand what your real runway is. You got to know how much time and energy effort you have put in place. By week 2, you want to build your income bridge, start finding some ways to monetize the skills that you have, do things that you already know so that you can start extending out that runway. By day 30, we want you to complete your financial reset. We want to know when we have a good emergency fund. We want to prioritize how we're going to pay off our debts. And we want to keep investing maybe at a reduced rate. And from month 2 onward, you need to start building income that doesn't depend on that just one employer. And that is it. That is the sequence. That is the reason why people panic if they don't have these things in place, because the situation isn't because you don't know. It's because you want to make sure that you've got this all handled so that if something were to happen to your job, you'd be in great shape. So people who had a salary and just hoped, that combination is not a plan. So if you're watching this and you still have your job, that is the perfect time to put this plan in place. Build out that runway, build out these other ways to make revenues without having to trade your time for money. Identify some bridges for yourself. What are the skills and things that you're good at? And start some asset conversation now. How do I start to get other ways to make money, whether it is owning part of a business, whether it is rental property, whatever it is, because the best time to build up your financial resilience is when you don't need it. And that is the best time to do that. So if you want the exact wealth building framework, reach out to me. I'll talk about all the things that I have done so I can help you win at the game of money and finance.